Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're finally going to be talking about the newest album from Michaela Anne called Desert Dove. So here's the problem with discussing trends in an independent or underground scene. They're much tougher to contextualize. Now, some of this comes from the inability to hear all the acts that might be creating or shifting the sound, because there's always more than you might think. Some of it's rooted in the uneven speeds in which such trends will develop, as some sounds will stick around for years while others are gone before you know it. And in some cases, just classifying the sounds as a trend might be painting with too broad a brush. There is such a thing as coincidence, after all, and sometimes a bunch of acts will land in the same territory all at once without influencing each other. It can happen. Now, of course, the success of one act relative to the mainstream can kick all this into high gear and spread the influence even further, so let's talk about the current wave of more atmospheric country music, which I'm going to coin as dream country in the same vein as dream pop because I feel like it. And it's not all that far afield either. While the mainstream might have touched against some of the reverb touch swell and spare sweep it all before passing and hopping on the next snap beat, the indie scene's been delving a lot deeper into these sounds with increasing regularity the past couple of years, especially among women who have been carving into this niche alongside some jazzier tones or rockabilly. Now, often bringing in a lot of folk touches or a splash of psychedelia, that's really probably the deepest roots of it all. You can point to crossover acts like Casualties of Cool and First Aid Kit for kind of being predecessors, but the sound has picked up a lot more traction in recent years thanks to crossover projects like The Weight of These Wings by Miranda Lambert, or especially Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves last year. And that's not to snub fantastic indie acts who might be doing it better like Courtney Marie Andrews or Angelina Presley, or even the last country artist I covered here on this show, Carolyn Spence, who have delved into these tones with some regularity and a lot of consistency. And a lot of great music. And while similar tones have suffocated indie folk and indie rock in recent years, what I like about dream country is how acts don't just suffocate themselves in the blissed out vibe. The tones, they only accentuate the huge voices, the jagged touches of texture, and a more lonely vibe that gives a lot of space to dig into the details. It's also a sound that many have highlighted has some of its roots in California, or the folk-leaning canyon sound, which finally takes us to Michaela Anne. She's another artist who slid onto my backlog pretty early thanks to how much I liked her pretty straightforward 2014 album, Ease My Mind, but I'll admit that my interest kinda cooled a bit with her follow-up, Bright Lights in the Fame from 2016, which embraced more dream country textures on some of the deeper cuts, but also felt weirdly messy at spots, and trying for more neo-traditional country jauntiness than it could convincingly land, at least for me. Unfortunately, her label started going through some financial trouble around that time, which stymied that project's promotion and left her in some deep trouble. So she took the risk, moved to California, signed to another indie label, and take a major financial chance to write and create Desert Dove. And given that the buzz was some of the best she had seen to date, what do we get with this? Well, I'll say it. Not only is Desert Dove easily the most lush, textured, expansive, and interesting project that Michaela Anne has put out thus far, it's pretty damn great overall, hitting her stylistic balance between dream country atmosphere and more grounded, rough-edged texture. And well, I'll say it, the Carolyn Spence comparison, it was on my mind given the proximity of the reviews. I'd argue Michaela Anne is playing in similar, but not identical territory. She's not as husky or reserved. She seemed to take bigger chances with the richer delivery and more developed compositions and a lot better hooks, but not always delivering the same degree of nuance or lyrical depth. Although I do get the impression she is heading in the right direction, and obviously so, because this is a pretty great album. But you know what? Let's start off with some of the writing, because if there is one point on this album that keeps the project from among the best indie country I've heard in 2019, it is probably here. And it's not even that the writing is bad so much as it can feel a little bit inconsistent or kind of slight in spots, which is what can happen when you're playing in some slightly broader strokes. Now, the song that immediately springs to mind for me is the fiddle-driven rollick of If I Wanted Your Opinion, which is playing in the same vein as a cut like Sarah Bareilles' King of Anything or Buy My Own Drinks by Runaway June, and some of the kiss off of an arrogant blowhard guy that they're gonna meet at the bar. But outside of a nice key change for the final hook, it is pretty by the numbers. And that's not always a problem when the production does a little more, we'll touch on this in a bit, but it also reflects a level of deeper detail and nuance that doesn't always come through to make the song distinctive, like on I'm Not the Fire, which tries to play for sympathy for a guy who's trying way too hard, but lines like, you can be happy if you choose, just kinda hit an odd note, especially when the album ends with the acoustic ballad Be Easy that hits that compassionate side way more effectively. But it also highlights the breezy vibe of most of the album as a whole, where there is an emphasis on passion, but not really a ton of deeper satisfaction in order to anchor it, which might give a lot of exuberance and potency to songs like Child of the Wind and Run Away With Me, and really a lot of weight to how she might commit too strongly on One Heart, but it also does make me question some of the naivete that seems to come through on Tattered, Torn, and Blue and Crazy. Well, you know what, naivete isn't even the right word there either, because one of the great assets of this album is how self-aware she is in the big chances that she is taking, but that does strike a bit of an odd note against the more sober relationship moments, like the very deep-seated regret that comes on Somebody New, where she's not sure how or why she fell in love with this new person, but is now trying to break things off with her current partner, even if there is still some real feelings there, which is actually pretty tough to do when you got a song earlier like Two Fools that highlight how they might be holding things together in public, but have just never really mustered the nerve to truly end the dead relationship. And then there's the title track, where she's watching a hookup from the sidelines where both partners are trying to salve their loneliness, having lived too long and lived too hard with too many partners. Hell, the subtext might as well highlight how quickly she could just wind up in the same place, wind up just as kind of jaded and bitter. And if the album is coming to any sort of theme or arc, it is finding that emotional balance in a relationship, getting the right give and take that actually makes the love click. But you know what, for as much as I spent the first chunk of this review discussing Dream Country, it obviously must take center stage on the album's sound, right? Well, believe it or not, kinda yes and no, which is my other minor issue with the album. For as burnished and warm and organic as it feels, like her last project, we once again get a couple of the more neo-traditional leaning songs like Two Fools that just don't quite feel as interesting as the sweeping atmosphere and deeper smolder of a Dream Country sound that not only really flatters her voice, but also helps her album feel a little more unique. Now granted, in some of the more conventional songs, the pedals steel and the strings are very warm. I love the strings embellishment against the flattened guitar pickup on Child of the Wind, and that acoustic pickup is extremely well placed, and I really like how she gives her band a lot of space to cut loose for a lot more guitar solos than I otherwise expect, and a lot of them sound really good, especially like on One Heart. And you know what, there's even some poppier moments like Run Away With Me that are a natural fit for her expressive vocal timbre. But you know what, when this album opens up, we get some truly stunning moments. On the one hand, you get the incredibly lush elegance of Tattered, Torn, and Blue and Crazy, but on the flip side, for as well balanced as the rounded bass touches ride beneath the acoustic guitar on the regretful Somebody New, or the darker, ominous buildup that comes on One Heart, they're really in a different ballpark for her instrumentally. Even if the songs might read as being a little simpler, they really connect. And the title track's great for that too, with the faint touches of bells against the shimmer and smolder of the guitar layers. It's territory for which Michaela Anne's strident delivery is amplified, especially when the backing vocals are so well placed, male and female. And for even simpler songs like Partners on the Road track of By Our Design, the smoky rollick is excellent, coupled with phenomenal blending, but enough of an edge creeping through and enough attention to the detail of the atmosphere and the mood. I'm not gonna say it's as intricate or quite as ingenious as what Emily Scott Robinson brought this year, but I can hear the same meticulous attention to detail that's delivered so smoothly you could almost miss it, and that's high praise. But to pull it all together, Desert Dove, it's a great project from an indie country talent where the risk is amplified through every note of yearning swell that we get. I can tell she took a chance with this, and it paid off so well. It's easily her best work to date, and while artists like Courtney Marie Andrews and Carolyn Spence are a little bit more world-weary and lean on more mature gravitas, Michaela Anne puts me closer in mind to the brighter tones and hooks of that most recent Casey Musgraves album, and would probably play to a similar audience, but also leaning more heavily on pronounced country timbres for that anchor point. And while I think there's a part of me that can't help but think this project could be a little tighter, punch a little harder, I really wouldn't want that to come at the expense of the passionate core here, which is why I'm giving it a solid 8 out of 10 and absolutely a recommendation. Yeah, I know, I'm a little late to this one too, but if Michaela Anne's gonna put the dream in Dream Country, I'm happy I'm on board for this ride. And you should be too. Check it out. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. This is one of those projects, I know, I'm a little late to it, but you're definitely going to want to hear it. It is something special. So if you want to buy or stream it, links down in the description below, and I got the poll up there. I'm curious for the few people who would have heard it, what you think about it. Beyond that, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if you're looking for the newest album reviews or the new episode of Billboard Breakdown, links in the card, right over there. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching the Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.